I don't want to have the yogurt pretzels. Because I can't eat anything while I'm on the live stream.
Okay, later.
So we got a green light now. That means that we're live. Michael, sit your butt down in the chair.
Butt on chair.
Were you the kind of person who got called different names when your parents were angry?
Yes.
Really?
Michael is the name.
Really? So Michael, like...
Michael.
Michael!
Yeah, don't do that.
Or did you get the middle name treatment?
I don't have a middle name.
I keep forgetting that.
Yeah.
This shows how much I care.
Whoa.
I'm sorry,
Too
Mike.
real.
Oh, surprise, we're live now. And David D, thank you for reminding me how much we sucked last week. I have rebooted the computer. It is now a fresh reboot. It took me a while to reboot too. It was like, iTunes wants to keep running, and so you can't reboot. And so I just barely got it in time here. We got a fresh thing. I even had enough time to pick a number of cars here that we can talk about before your guys' picks come in. So feel free to go to the auction. It's down here at the bottom, auction.pacificcoastjdm.com. And you can check to see which auctions are there. We got a bunch of people in the chat already. Bill Courtney's always here. Hey Bill, how you doing? David D. I don't recognize David D. And it's funny, sometimes the people have screen names that I don't know, and then I know them in real life, or they're our current customers, and so that's pretty weird. Tater's gonna take Seabass is cold.
Tater's gonna take.
I love that name.
Yeah.
We have Boboba Irving says, "Oh my God, heart!" And Eric's Curioso. He got a question already, or he has a question already. I'm going to see if I can speak with proper sentence structure. Do you convert right-hand drive to left-hand drive when importing cars? There are companies in Japan that do that, but we don't handle that. You're better off going with a bigger company that has experience with that, because I think that you would get better quality or worse quality, depending on the company, for the conversion. And really, experience is going to be the top thing when it comes to the quality of the conversion. That being said, it may be hard to parse out which companies give you high quality and which ones say that they're high quality, but they're actually not. So, I don't know. It's really outside of my level of understanding. You know anything about that, Mike?
No, only that some importers specialized in it, but I think it's a specialist service and you have to pay.
It might be a good thing to just buy cars that are already converted, even though they can be more expensive, because then you'll be able to see in person what the cars look like. All right, we got Wormy Worm here. Bill Courtney has funny looking faces he's sending to me. Thank you, Bill. I love funny looking faces. Roberto's here. Derek, what's going on with the Honda City Turbo 2? I have shot a video about that, and it is in line to be edited, maybe sometime in the future. But the engine is running, and so that's the only information that you get on it. It's not running well, but it's running. Tony Counts is here from Jacksonville, Florida, same city as Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit. That's our second reference to Limp Bizkit of the day, Mike.
Oh!
I asked Mike to put
man.
Limp Bizkit on when we were doing work, and he refused to.
What?
Okay, so we're starting to get some questions, so I'm going to jump right into the questions here, I guess, and just answer a few of them before I go over these ones that I've picked here to look at. First one there is, how much does a decent mid-mileage, not pristine, but totally rusted out R32 GTR end up selling for? Mike, you got an answer for that? You're probably handling more of these than I am.
Like $2.5 million is kind of the minimum for one in decent.
Yeah, it's
Mid-mileage.
hard to say what decent
Yeah.
condition is for a car that's 25 years old, because somebody can take care of their car really well and it can still be in pretty poor condition when compared to like a 10-year-old car.
I'd say like 2.5 to 3.5.
Mike says 2.5 to 3.5, but in terms of millions of yens. So what is that in US dollars? Like 22,000 US dollars to 30,000 US dollars or so? I would say you can go for a little bit less than that, but you really don't want to be going for one of the lower end ones, because the GTR tends to be a car that can be a money pit when you get one of the lower quality ones. Someone from Costa Rica, I'm going to try to pronounce your name. Alberto Gutierrez Hernandez. That's not bad. Hey, Mike,
Yeah,
give me
that's good.
compliments. I need them.
Yeah, that's great, Derek. Well
Thank
done.
you. I absolutely do need them. And you know what else I need?
Yeah.
Check this out. That's what happens when tea
Oh,
evaporates.
yeah. People on
This-
stream probably want to see that.
No, they don't. This is officially Ayako's table now, and so let me go find out how my order is going. Beep 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 beep. Hello, how's that green tea coming over there? This is my hand phone. Thank you so much. What are the questions? I've been seeing a couple of campers you've been importing to places. Which ones would you recommend that aren't already in the USA? Like which types of campers? Really, you get what you can get, and what you really want to do is hit this camper button. Where is it? Camping. And then if you're in the USA, put in 1994 because that's the newest that you can get, and then click search, and you're going to come up with a list of any of the campers that are at auction right now. And some of them are going to be official campers, and some of them are going to be like pretend campers, because in Japan you get lower registration costs if your car is a camper, and so some things like Land Cruisers or Hiaces are sometimes registered as campers when they're not actually campers. And so I actually have this one here pulled up already, and then the other two are USS cars, so I can't show them. Speaking of which, I didn't check to see if these are USS cars, so that was kind of a dumb idea. And luckily we don't have any of them. Okay, some cars at auction have a starting bid of 777770000. Why? Mike, I'm shooting that one to you.
Cancel.
Correct, Mike.
Oh,
you
yeah.
win a prize. Would you like to have a sip of my green tea?
Okay, but thank you. I appreciate the offer.
Yeah, so when the cars are canceled, then they get that number put into the starting price just as a deterrent for anyone buying, because nobody's. How much would that be in dollars? Let me just check here. So 777 million yen
I think so. Yeah,
would
something
be
like
like seven. It would be like, yeah, about $7 million. And so nobody's gonna bid 7 million. So maybe that's why it hasn't like that. I'm in BC. Do you sell campers in Vancouver? We do not sell anything in Vancouver except for one or two cars that we just send to Vancouver to somebody that we know, and then they sell them. We don't actually hold any inventory, and so if you want to buy campers, you got to buy them through the auction here in Japan. That being said, you really want to pay attention to what I said at the beginning of most of the YouTube videos that have campers on them, because I mentioned about how difficult it is to get a camper that is good. Take, for example, this one. Where is it? Where's that? Here it is. So this one is an Isuzu Rodeo, and I don't think this one's four-wheel drive, maybe a two-wheel drive model. And so take a look at these pictures. We get no pictures of the interior except for, like, here's a picture of the steering column. Here's a picture of the bottom of the seat. And while some people might want to really badly see that steering column picture, it's more useful to have a picture of the interior of the back, but the auctions often don't supply you with that picture. So you'd be going into this camper not knowing what the design of the interior is, nor how beat up the interior is. And then some of them are pretty bad in terms of how much wear they have to the interior. You got to remind yourself that for the USA, the cars have to be 25 years old, and 25 years old is a lot of time for damage to accrue to the interior of one of these. And then some people are hippies and they make modifications that non-hippies would not like to have in their campers. And so it's really a mixed bag. You really have to be the type of person who can roll with whatever punches your camper is going to give you, and sometimes the camper gives you the big nasty punches. This one doesn't look so bad, but you without seeing the interior, you don't really know. And so, yeah, buying from auction really is a wholesale way of buying, and most of the companies that specialize in campers, because we absolutely don't, what they'll do is they'll buy the campers for their inventory by viewing the campers in person. And so if the camper's good, they'll sell for a lot, but if the camper's bad, almost everybody is not going to be interested in that, making it much easier for people who don't see them in person to actually buy a worse camper. Because if you bid what would look like a reasonable price against the statistics of the sold prices, what happens is all of the expensive ones will be the good ones. Any of the ones within the average price range might fall into the bad car category, and you might win it for half of what your max bid is, but it might be really trashy inside. I'm not sure if that makes an awful lot of sense. Does that make sense, Mike? Am I making sense here?
Yeah.
I haven't had any green tea, so I'm still running on
No.
at 2% at the moment.
You doing good?
The green tea is excellent in Japan. You know, my friend gave green tea to my wife, and it was brown in color, and the green tea here is green,
Right.
right? And she was like, "This isn't green tea, it's brown tea." But like in Canada, all the green tea is brown or
Oh, really?
auburn or yellowish color, because it's either, I don't know what it is, if it's either low quality or if it's because like the tea oxidizes
Right.
over time
Hmm.
and then becomes less green, perhaps. I'm not sure. But
Strange.
for people who have green tea, maybe if it's actually yellow in color, it's not the same as real green tea. So see if you can find some higher quality stuff. I see Bill Courtney sending in a bunch of them. Mike, are you taking notes of those ones?
I do indeed. He's sending some cool ones too.
Thank you so
Alright.
much. I guess Alberto's asking a question about a Honda City. Yes, not only is it hard to find Honda City turbos at auction, maybe 5 of them a year, maybe 3 of them a year, maybe a year will go by without one of them going for sale. You can't get parts for basically anything. Some of the parts switch over with other cars, like brakes are from a Prelude, but the engine is only available in that one car. They're very old cars and they weren't usually kept in good condition, and there's not very many parts left for them. And so if you buy a car and you want to actually keep it on the road, you kind of have to buy 2 of them and then swap parts over when they start breaking and whatnot.
Oh, and Alberto also said nice pronunciation
Oh,
of his name.
thank you. Thank you for complimenting me. I would give myself a 4 out of 10 on that one. Okay, if I win an auction for a 2005, will you guys store it for me for a cost until it's eligible? Do I have to wait till the month of import to start the process? Okay, so the car can be shipped and land as soon as it's legal. So if you're in the USA and this car is legal, like say it's legal in August, then we would send it in July so that it lands in August. We can store cars here, but almost all cases it's not worth it to store, and we wouldn't be able to store a car for extended amounts of time because cars can't sit for extended amounts of time without breaking themselves, and we don't really want to be in the business of storing cars that are going to be breaking. We don't have facilities to manage of starting up of the engine and changing the oil over those years. And so I would say probably we would turn you down if you're looking at something a few years out. And I find that the best way to answer this question too is that most people are looking to buy a car several months or several years in advance in order to get a lower price because they expect the price to skyrocket once it becomes legal for import. But for most cases, and not saying this for every car, but I would say probably at least 95 to 98% of all of the car models that are out there, any increase in price is not worth the amount of time that you spent investing that money. So for example, the opportunity cost of $30,000 put away for 2 years could be several $1,000s in lost profits had you invested in something else. And so you might be better off using that money to buy other cars in the meantime. You can have something to drive while you bring it in. Taking that $30,000 example, why not bring in 2 $15,000 cars, drive both of them. When one of them sells, use that now $17,000 or $18,000 that you have from the profit of that, put that into another car, and just cycle between those 2 cars as you go. You'll always have something to drive over those 2 years, and you'll probably make more money than the difference that it costs to, or like any savings that you would have got by storing the car. So it's a little bit of a long-winded answer, but I think in most cases you're better off not storing the car. That said, there is this still 1 or 2% of cars that it would be worth it to do that for, because you may not be able to find them when they become legal, but most cars you will be able to find. It depends on the rarity of them. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go through these cars that I pulled up. So we got an Altezza here, and feel free to send in your own picks. The Altezza has become more and more popular. One of our YouTube videos of an Altezza is a little bit weird because it's gotten so many views over the 4 or so years that it's been up on there. And it's interesting. People like these cars. I'm not personally in love with them, but I think that they're good cars. They're rear-wheel drive, 200 horsepower cars with a peach of an engine. I don't like the way that they feel when you shift them, and I don't like the seats, but those can be changed if you really want to. And there's not very many other cars this size and still rear-wheel drive. And so that's kind of unique. It's kind of AE86-like, and then it is the spiritual successor to that. And so maybe that's why people like it so much. I feel like it's more enjoyed in some countries more than others. Like, for example, in like England, America, Canada, these aren't liked so much, but it tends to be liked more in some other countries. So 168,000 kilometers, and it looks like the body's not very good. We got an R grade here, some big scratches over on this side, A4 here, some paint cracks and some rust here, misaligned front bumper with big scratches. And notice how you can't see any of this in the picture here, and so that's why it's very important to take a look at this body diagram when you're judging the condition. Accident damage on the end panel that's been repaired. Exterior has various paint fade, modified exhaust, driver's seat is modified. Let's see if I can get a picture of that. Ooh, my favorite kind of driver's seat, the one that's all ripped up. Yeah, it doesn't look like a car I would recommend buying, but because they are non-turbo cars, I find that kind of keeps the price down. Maybe they're like, this one would be under 200,000, so maybe $1,200 US or so purchase price, plus other fees. Door mirrors are paint peeling, front and rear wheels are different. Looks like it has GTR wheels on the back, which is kind of funny because although they share the same bolt pattern of a 114.3, the GTR wheels are a very aggressive wheel to fit on an Altezza. You'd have to go stretch tires, as you can see they are, and then rolled and pulled fenders in order to fit those in. Okay, so anything on this, Mike? Do you want to add something?
I've never driven one. I think they're okay. I'd like to try them, but I don't know too much about them.
I think that they would be way more fun if you drive them at like 8/10 or 9/10 of the limit.
Yeah.
And then they're kind of like the chassis is good, the handling is good. They don't feel fast though, because they get most of their power higher up in the RPM band.
Yeah.
But if you really wring the neck of a car like that, they can be really good.
Yeah.
Like that TRD Corolla that we had. You ever see that?
The Runks? I didn't see it,
Yeah.
I don't think, but you told me about it, yeah.
It was incredibly fun to drive, and it has shares the same engine as the Celica, which is, I guess, the TRD version of it has more power than this car's version, but the regular version of the Runks has less power. Still very fun and very good to drive, even though I didn't particularly find it very good to drive when you're driving it like below 4,000 RPM or 4,500. On to the next one here, we got this camper. Like I said, camper prices are a little bit hard to determine, and this one has some corrosion on the underside. Micro Mini Motorhome Rodeo 4-wheel drive RV. It's funny how this is a note from the seller. He didn't put this in the slot that you're supposed to put it in. He put it in the slot for the auction inspector. Okay, so it says the front glass of the camping section is cracked. This one up here, it's actually plastic, not glass. And that's a common thing to crack for some reason. Winter tires, various scratches and dents. Interior and exterior have several modifications on them, including curtains, underside and frame, surface rust and corrosion. Some cracks here in the side sills, back, and the back section here. That would need to be repaired with fiberglass. And then I'd say probably about 1.5 million for this, judging by the low-ish kilometers, a diesel engine in it, and a 5-speed manual. It is a 4-wheel drive. I thought that it wasn't, but it is, and so that's really good. But because it doesn't have the raised suspension that the Hilux does, I don't know how much that 4-wheel drive is going to help if you're going on something a little bit more rugged, which is a huge draw for the Hilux. Yeah, so 13,000 plus a lot of fees to get it in, so you might have this landed at around 18,000 because shipping for a big car like this is going to be more expensive. All right, on to the next one, Supra. What is this? Why did I pick this? I actually didn't pick these for any reason. I had 2 minutes before the video went live, so I just picked some based on the looks. So what do we got here? It's a non-turbo version with a 5-speed, and then the non-turbo's got the 6-speed after 1996. So this will be less expensive than those. With around 100,000 kilometers, your price range for these is usually around 10,000 to 15,000 US for the non-turbo, plus fees. This one has current registration. It has Yokohama ABS wheels on it. I guess they look kind of okay. What do you think?
They look huge. What are they, 19s?
Are they? I don't know.
just
19
like-
on a Supra is very big. I would,
Yeah.
yeah, they do look pretty big. Come to look at them, and then highly stretched tires. You can see
Yeah.
no. So it's kind of funny. Usually you would put very stretched tires when you want to push the wheels out further than the edge of the rim, but these ones haven't been pushed out that far. So why have the stretched tires on them? A little bit weird. Okay, it doesn't say the size of the wheels, but I would say either 18s or 19s, maybe 19s on them. It's got a 2J, yes it does, but it's a non-turbo 2J, so 220 horsepower. And I think it's a reasonable amount of power for this car, considering the weight and the handling for it. The turbo is just so much nicer. Looks like the body is pretty good with a medium dent over here and paint damage on the front bumper, P2. It could have to do with the paint discoloration. Looks like the front bumper has faded a bit. Underside scratched and dented, steering wheel wear, aftermarket steering wheel. Interior liner scratched, seat has medium wear and is dirty. Interior is dirty. Underside small surface rust. Mirrors scratched. Exterior has small scratches in several areas. There's marks from detailing, like burnt paint, on edges. You'll probably see that on the spoiler because the paint will fade on the spoiler faster than it will on any of the metal parts. Car has been lowered. Aftermarket shift knob, aftermarket stereo, dashboard modified, and rear hatch damper doesn't work. And we don't have any pictures of the interior. So it looks like a pretty reasonable condition one. You can see the dashboard modifications. Here it's gauges put into the airbag piece. And that airbag piece is not always an airbag piece. I think on some of the earlier models, or maybe it was an optional dual airbag, because you get like a second glove box there instead of an airbag for some of them. So this one will probably be on the higher end of that price range, probably looking at about 15,000 US dollars, maybe about 3,500 to bring it in. If it were legal, I realize now it's 1995, so not legal to the US. Might be a little bit cheaper because of that. But the Supras aren't a huge price difference between what's legal in the US and what's available in Japan, simply because these have worldwide high desire, and so other countries are keeping that price up as well.
Would you like another car, or do you want some?
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if anybody's commenting about this car. Somebody Suxaquazabutagaloa says some 17-inch TE37s or RPF1s would look just right. 17s on a Supra I think are fantastic, but they do look smaller than most people appreciate, but you get better performance out of a 17 than an 18. Okay, we got a Hilux Surf. I picked this one because it's a 5-speed manual. In fact, all of these are 5-speed manuals, are the ones that I picked. And we currently have a 5-speed manual Hilux Surf in our inventory, and so please email us about that. It has pretty terrible paint, but it looks like a solid vehicle. And we got it for a decent price, but it's not legal for the US until December. And so I was thinking about maybe repainting the sections that are bad before putting them for sale.
Itasha. How many people would want to buy an Itasha Hilux Surf?
Oh, I thought you found one because I see you're going through the auctions there in your computer. No. Nobody wants to buy an Itasha.
What if you did like some anime surf theme or something? Would Sarah want to try?
For those that don't know, Itasha is putting anime character designs onto your car. 328,000 kilometers, but the 3-liter engine in this is a nice engine. It's a turbo diesel, same engine as in the one that we have for sale. Just saying, you know. Paint is bad on the roof of this one. I would suspect this will probably sell for, well, it's not US legal, not until next March. Your Firefox is critically out of date. I like how they use the term critically to convince you to get the new version of Firefox. I don't know, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with new versions of things, because when you upgrade to a new version and it stops working, I don't like that. Or you have to learn how to redo something. Container shipping, Derek, is only, I'm sorry, not Derek, David, is only useful if you're shipping 4 cars at a time, and even then it's not always the best. So if it's 1 car in a container, you're looking to spend like 2.5 times as much.
We have a pickup at 11:45.
Okay. We're gonna have this one short actually, because we're pretty busy at the moment.
Okay.
What car is being picked up?
Sylvia or Chaser?
Sylvia or Chaser?
Sylvia.
They're both kind of far back in the lot.
Okay.
And it's raining hard. You should bring Ayako. She likes walking in the rain. Right, Ayako?
That is not the face of someone who likes walking in the rain.
Power window doesn't work on this. Sunroof, sun visor is broken. Seat is ripped. Yeah, it looks like a standard 330,000 kilometer car. Maybe this one would be somewhere in the range of about 400,000 yen. So that's like 3,500 plus fees. Got a N360. This is actually kind of interesting because Honda is making a new version of this car at the moment.
Nice. Bill
Or-
sent that one in as well.
They have one called the N1. Let me see if I can pull that up. Honda N1. So this one here is supposed to be like a spiritual successor to it. I think that they got the styling wrong on this though. They had a really cool looking one that was in concept, and then the styling changed. So the in concept, although it looks similar, it was an electric car and it had kind of different design on it.
I like that style. That'd be cool.
This one here is a EVN. Maybe this is the one that I was thinking about. Oh, truck version of cars. Man. Woo. I love that.
Oh.
And I don't know the prices of these. They come with a 360cc engine, so like a
3.
0.3 liter. I bet you they would be wicked little cars, but I bet they're also pretty expensive considering the age. This one's like a 1970. Condition-wise, it looks like lots of corrosion repairs, rust repairs, has been repainted. This is the original color, which is a plus. Maybe $6,000, $8,000, somewhere in that range. Could be a little bit more, but I really don't know the prices of these. It says authentic mileage at 96,200, which is a weird thing for them to write, because I believe it's a 5-digit odometer, so they would need to back that up with proof. And wood look panel. So classy in 1970. Okay, next one here. What's this? A Cresta. Cool. Cresta's the probably the one that gets the least amount of love out of the JZX 90s. This one looks like it has some drift damage on it, and I think that these wheels are from the Skyline R34 non-GTR version, but they're missing the center caps. So it comes with a Turbo 1J engine in it, one of the best cars and engine combination that you can possibly think of. The sad thing is most of them are beat by now. If you're looking for like a really clean daily driver, you've got to pay a lot of money for a JZX 80 or 90 or 100. 110s are still reasonably priced, but people don't like the styling so much on those, I think. So big huge dents over here, broken headlight, big huge dents over here. Perfect drift car for people. But it is an original oh no, it's not. It's original automatic switched over to manual. I think this will go for too much more than it's worth. 2000 GTs Bender sometimes come up for auction, but not very often, and then they're big money. Sometimes they sell for over $1 million. But usually they're kind of in the $500,000 range depending on the condition, and original parts matter a lot for it because like a single door is like $15,000 on those, and engines are $100,000. Yep, containers CLP. Containers stacking is scary, and you're at more chance of a risk of damage if you ship by container. But if you have insurance and the car's not, like, if the car's a classic car and paint damage, like repainting something lowers the value, then I wouldn't recommend doing container unless it's only the single car or 2 cars in the container. If you're putting cars suspended, higher risk of damage. Not like they're going to fall, but usually like one of the straps, not usually, but when there's damage, it often happens when one of the straps comes loose and just kind of goes like this in the container. You can imagine 13 days of being in the sea, how much damage you can do to a car with that. I don't know how often that happens though. I would say probably like 1 in 100 shipments, so not really high chances of that happening. But then again, they also load them in with a forklift, which could do damage to the underside, and when you're moving a car on a forklift, you might be at a higher chance of hitting another car with that car. So yeah, we almost exclusively do Ro-Ro unless you want container. I would say $3,000. No. People still want them for drift, so maybe $4,000 for this one. This one here. Is that 16-inch wheels on the car? That's kind of interesting.
Oh, that one was a nice one too.
So a Turbo 180, looks like it's kind of in rough condition with some rust on the roof. replaced side sill, big corrosion over here. I wouldn't pay more than $3,000 for this. It is a 1998 and it is the official Type X that everybody likes because it has the cool body pieces on it like rear spoiler, side skirts, front bumper. Front bumper actually doesn't fit on the earlier model, so if you want to do that front end conversion, because this model was never available in the States, you'd have to change the fenders as well, because the fender has to line up with the bumper differently. Okay, so that's all. I think that's all the ones that I've picked. So why don't we go to some Mike Dennis? I see you over at the computer over there.
Yeah.
Are you setting a bid right now?
No, I have to go for that pickup. And our first bid is going to be at 12:07 for first live one.
Okay. I'm going to continue on for another 15 minutes, but if you go, I'll be able to hold down the fort myself.
Cool.
But for now, why don't you throw up some cars that you were picking? And 2000 GT is a way better car than the Mazda Cosmos, and values like they're 5 to 10 times more expensive than Cosmos cost.
Someone was asking for an S15
Mm-hmm.
70005 at KMAA. And then I found a Euro R. 854.
70005.
Yeah.
Okay, Sylvia.
Yeah, S15. I'm not sure if it's in great condition.
Kind of ugly wheels on it.
Yeah.
They're like the stock wheels on another Nissan, I believe.
Also, are those seats the stock seats? They don't look like it. But
Nope.
it's got
These
driver end.
these are stock seats in one of the versions of the Supra and Celica, actually,
yeah,
which is kind of funny. But the Sylvia never came with them.
in the V package, Spec S V package.
Oh, the V package. Oh, I don't know what that is. I
No,
know what the L
neither.
package is. I don't know the V packages. So this one here is a non-turbo version, and you can get the non-turbo versions for a good price. I think they're going to be semi-reliable. I don't find that the turbo versions of these cars to be particularly reliable. Part of that might be the fact that they usually get driven really hard, and part of it might be that the SR20, in terms of engineering, was never meant to be what people would consider an over-engineered engine. It's not particularly bad, and it doesn't have a timing belt, and so it won't snap your timing belt. I guess that's useful. Anyways, big scratches here and a cracked side skirt. The rest of the body looks okay, other than some scratches on the other side skirt here. Has been in an accident, front inner panel dented, core support dented, aftermarket tail lights. And I do like the look of aftermarket tail lights on this car, even though most aftermarket tail lights I don't really care for. And I don't really care for these ones either, but the original ones I don't like. Suspension has been modified, interior panels have been painted red. That's one of my least favorite thing that people do to cars, is repaint panels into colors that are not original. But this panel, oh no, not this panel, it's this part here is very prone to scratching. And it's funny that they painted this panel here, which, although it is prone to scratching because of its location, isn't as prone as whatever material this part's made out of. Front Recaro seats, oil small leak. That's usually a minor one out of the valve cover gasket. Seat is saggy and underside surface rust. Has a manual transmission, 17-inch wheels purchased from user, and aftermarket exhaust. 144,000 kilometers, and I would say probably about $3,000 for this one. And the non-turbos are less than half of the price of the turbos at the moment, I believe. But we don't get too many requests for the non-turbos, so I don't exactly know. But I would say probably about 45% of the cost of the turbos, because the turbos, I think, are much more in desire, or much more desirable. Plus they have the 6-speed manual, the extra horsepower. And I don't know in terms of production numbers which one they made more of. Bill has had problems getting an SR20 to pass emissions. That's interesting. I guess it would matter on which country that you're looking for. And that particular car, because what's to say that it's not just broken. I guess we don't have Mike in here anymore, so I don't have the picks or questions that he wrote down. I'm sorry, everyone, but we also have business to do. Mitsuokas, have we sold any? I don't think so. They're not very common cars in Japan. I see David sent. I've answered all your questions, David. I'm giving you. It looks like I'm giving you preferential treatment. CAA Chubu. We have a video of a Copin up on our channel. I'm not hugely in love with the styling, but I do like an open top convertible with a hard top that's a K car. I think that's really cool. Part of the reason I don't really like them, aside from the styling that looks the same on the front and the back, right, is that I don't really fit in them, and I'm not a particularly large person. If the top is open, I would fit, but my head gets dangerously close to the top here, that when you go around corners, my head might knock on the side of the roof, because it actually comes down a lot from the center. Other than that, I think it's a good package. It's front-wheel drive, which I guess is not really a big problem because it's not meant to be a performance car, and comes with a turbocharged 64 horsepower engine. I think, yeah, not bad. Wormy Worm says CRX glass roof. Yeah, expensive. The glass roof doesn't tend to be much more expensive than the regular version of it because glass roof is heavier on the top, and a lot of people want those cars for performance purposes. But they're probably about the same price because people in the US like the glass roof ones. So yeah. Let's see if we can find another pick from somebody. I'm going to go scroll back in the chat here and see what I can find. An RX-8 with an LS swap sounds awesome. Yes, Altezas can fit large people. You can put the seat back pretty far, comparatively. I think they were engineered to be a car for America because they're also the same chassis for Lexus, but with a better engine in Japan. I'm not seeing too many people sending in some. What do FC S5s go for? It depends a lot because conditions vary. They're now 30 years old. Yikes. And so they share the same horsepower with the American versions, except for the Infini versions of them have an extra 10 horsepower, plus some cool seats that always tend to smell like pickles, in all the ones that I've seen at least. Price range, you can probably see them from like $5,000 to $10,000 for the most part. And then prices for shipping and other fees on top of that. Good ones, I would say don't spend less than $6,000 or $6,500 on them. And then with any rotary, the amount of wear inside the engine is going to dictate how long that it lasts for. And they usually last less than piston engines, but it depends a lot on how much the previous owners have taken care of the engine. So it's hard to say. You wouldn't be able to tell just by an auction sheet. And so you kind of have to get into it expecting to rebuild the engine. But there's a lot of good information online for rebuilding, and once you rebuild the engine, it's going to be a great car for a good long time. Okay. I found some here. A Fiat Coupe with blue stripes, 90236. We'll have a quick look at that one. What was that number again? 90236. We've never sold one of these actually. They what I've heard is that these are incredibly unreliable. And to put these decals on your car probably says to me that you're the type of person that doesn't do regular maintenance on your car, which, to be like, that may sound like I'm being a little bit mean, but you have to go with what information that you know on the car, and you have to read between the lines when you buy from auctions. So I don't know. It's also right-handed drive. You're going to find that a right-handed drive version of this is worth less than the already almost pennies Fiat Coupe prices, because people don't usually like these, especially in Japan. They're oddly styled, especially by today's standard, very 90s. They, in my opinion, don't handle the looks of modifications that well. Interior looks like it wears out quickly because leather seats usually will show wear faster than a fabric seat will. And then there's the unreliability and the fact that they're not particularly fast cars. So 2-liter turbo engine, front-wheel drive, 60,000 kilometers on it. Looks like it has been color changed to blue two-tone and has some paint cracks and fade. That's a huge no-no because you won't be able to repaint it in the exact same shade of blue. You'd have to repaint everything, which doesn't look like it would be a big problem on this car, because I think I'd rather have a car with a the original color rather than the paint scheme on this one. That said, like, repainting this would cost more than the car is worth. Yeah, also the engine makes strange sounds, which is about 50% of the ones of these that I've seen, and leaking oil, and headlights are cloudy, and seat is ripped, and exterior paint is uneven, and bumper has screw holes in it, and a part of the bumper is missing, and the headliner is saggy. Yeah, seriously, I'm not exaggerating, I think that this is worth no more than about $200 or so here in Japan, even with the 6-speed manual transmission. So, I don't know, maybe a parts car for somebody. Not really something that's worth that much looking into. I wonder if this one has been at auction before. I'll click on the convenient button. It has not. Probably has no reserve price either, so you might be able to get it for 3,000 yen, which we've done a few times before. Robert sent one in, 30857. We'll have a quick look at that one. Ooh, I peed my pants now. I may need a tissue. Ayako, may you get me a tissue? I have spilled green tea onto the crotch area of my pants. And 30857 didn't come up with anything. Sorry. How about James Davis, 20054? Thank you. No looking at my crotch until this dries. And James Davis, 20054, comes up with these 5 different cars. So I'm not sure which one you were referring to. I guess this one here, I think these are great value for money, and this one might be a little bit interesting to take a look at, so we'll look at them both. So the Legacy here, this one comes with a 5-speed manual, and then it comes with a turbo EJ20 engine. And they're super cheap, like $1,500, even with the 5-speed and the turbo engine. You can pay more for a really good one, but one like this, which is at a kind of mid-price auction with 130,000 kilometers, is not going to be very sought after in Japan. The mileage is too high, and these cars were made in such big numbers that they're not particularly cool to people, because you see them all the time on the road. And then they're not great performance cars. They're better as a daily driver, to which they do really well, especially in countries that you usually have a winter car and a summer car. This one can do the duty all year round because of 4-wheel drive, and you can fit a lot of things in it. And so it's a really nice package. It's just not the high value of most performance cars, because the Impreza fits that niche. This one here, I think it's power lift gate. Cool. And so this one here will go down hydraulically, and you can lift things into the back if you want. Has 4 doors, and then usually these have 4-wheel drive. Let's just have a quick look. 5-speed manual, 3-liter diesel engine, Isuzu Elf, dented roof. Elfs tend to rust pretty quickly, and so I would be a little bit concerned about that, but this one shows no problems with rust other than some surface stuff in the back in here, which is pretty common on a truck, because most trucks get, I mean, nobody would drive this truck unless it's for their work. Outside of Japan maybe, but in Japan it's not seen as cool to have a quirky truck like this, and as your daily driver it would just be seen as an inconvenience, and you would be looked at very strangely for doing that. But yeah, the seller doesn't say if it is 4-wheel drive or not, which typically means that it's 2-wheel drives, so they tend to cost less. You might look to spend about 2,000 or 2,500 on this one. And this would be a great car, Elias, in Colorado, because this is really cool, especially with the yellow and the stripes on it. You can put some light bars on it, lift it up and put big tires, and you have a power lift gate, so when you're taking the kids to school you can put their bag on the back and lift it up, and then your kids can be like, "Dad, what are you doing? This is so annoying, you don't need to do that." And yeah, maybe it's just me that would be doing that. These trucks are what the highway flaggers should be driving instead of stuffing 3 guys in a regular cab bench seat GMC. Yeah, this truck is a highway truck. Maybe it's not. but the highway trucks look like this. I could be wrong about that. Maybe it's like a truck that does construction on the highway. Maybe. Okay, so 45-minute stream this time. We're cutting it 15 minutes short simply because I got a ton of things to get to. So I'll just, before we close it up, just show you the cars that we were looking at today that are coming up for auction. This one, this one, this one. And if you're just tuning in now, which I'm sorry, we're just ending now, then you can go back in the video to take a look at what I said about these cars. This one here's a Copen. And answer the questions that you guys have. So we do the stream every week, and it varies in length between 30 minutes and an hour. Sometimes we do the full length 1 hour when we have enough time, but it's been killing me trying to get that 1 hour just by how busy it is. Mike's been working hard. Actually, everyone in the office has been working hard to make sure that people get replied to quickly for their emails, but we're still almost more than a week, I think, almost 2 weeks late in replying with brand new inquiries at the moment. Anyways, that's going to be the end of the stream here. I'm going to finish my tea. I'm going to make sure nobody's looking at my crotch in the next few minutes. And goodbye for everyone. Thanks for tuning in.